Live over on CLTV. Hi, Gerard. Thanks for coming on.
It's a pleasure. I really we're having a great time today. Wow.
Did they name that show before they hired you at CLTV? Was the show called that and then you came to an audition? How'd that happen?
It was called Gerard McClendon Live, and then they had to run out and find a Gerard McClendon. And you know what? They found one.
They couldn't have found a better one, in my opinion.
I appreciate that, man.
I mean that.
I really do. I appreciate that. Yes, sir.
You tend to, when you're blogging, Gerard, I've noticed you tend to write things that have to do with the education system here in Chicago, which means you will never, ever run out of material. Am I right?
No, by no means. You know, being an educator for 17 years, that's where the passion comes from. My mom was a stickler for it as well as my dad. You know, finished up my master's degree at Valparaiso University, finishing on my PhD at Loyola right now, right down the street from here.
Yeah.
And so when I see children that cannot read and they're 16 and 17 years old, that just really gets under my skin.
There's no excuse for it, is there?
None whatsoever. But
Yeah.
we're dealing with social promotion in Chicago and in other school districts where a child can't read in 3rd grade, pass them. Child can't read in 4th and 5th grade, pass them. Child's getting a little taller now, pass them. And so social promotion, we've got to get a hold of this. And
All right.
I blog about that a lot.
A couple of things about that. First, is it just a numbers game? Is that why that happens? Is it just we need to move them along? It comes down to that. And second, how do we change that and make that better?
It's a numbers game, yes, it is. You know, we can't keep the child back because it's going to damage their self-esteem. Well, not being able to read at 16 damages your self-esteem
Yes, it
as well. So yes, it is a numbers game. And secondly, you know, it's to change things, we have to have higher expectations. They have higher expectations in other countries. Why not the United States of America? And you go from city to city, Atlanta, Chicago, you go to Harlem, you go to Detroit, you go to East LA. The expectations are way too low. And I've got serious problems with that.
Is it? My guess is it's not an easy fix, is it?
No, it's not, because it ends up becoming a parental fix. And if the parents aren't fixing it, if the parents aren't actively engaged in their child's education, nothing's going to change.
Don't you see, I'm sure you know this to an extent, the parents tend to think, well, this is an education they should be getting at school. I send them to school. But the schools are saying, how do we do this if the parents aren't taking some initiative and teaching them? So it's kind of a vicious circle.
Yeah.
How do we get out of that?
You know, Bill, it is a circle and a cycle. However, this is why on my show and in my blog, I'm calling for more men to be mentors in your community. When you've got teenage boys running rampant, whether it be street gangs, whether it be breaking windows. Speaking of breaking windows,
You're in the right place for that.
That's not funny.
Yeah.
We shouldn't say breaking windows around WGN.
We've had a week.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, you need men to step in. Of course, women are important, of course. But when you have men who are absent from a community, you're begging for chaos. So I'm asking men. It doesn't have to be your son that you involve yourself with. It can be, you know, other children in the neighborhood. Engage them in hobbies. Coach Little League baseball. Coach soccer. Get involved. Because boys want a strong male mentor that they can model after, and we don't see that enough.
Is that a situation that you think over the last couple of years has gotten better or has gotten worse? Where do we stand?
Much worse, much worse. I think churches, for the most part, are doing their part. I think that community organizations are doing their part as well, but when you see the escalating illiteracy in communities, and when you see the federal government rewarding men for not being in the home, it's like, we'll give this female this welfare check as long as there's no
male
man
present.
around.
Yeah.
So I got problems with that, man.
Yeah.
So, you know, look, the federal government is responsible as well.
But how do you fix? I mean, that is so involved.
One person at a time.
Yeah.
Just one person at a time. You know, my parents were parents who tried to mentor and engage the entire community.
Yeah.
They mentored children that weren't even their own children. So, you know, it's just one person at a time. And even if you don't have children, you still have children because they're in your community.
What excuse do you think, Gerard, a guy would use for not helping out? It just seems natural that as kids are coming up, you spend some time and you teach them what they need to teach. So what excuse would a guy give?
Don't have enough time, you know, I didn't ask for these kids, even though you involve yourself in some sort of act that created the kids.
Yeah.
I worked 2 jobs. my ex-wife or my baby's mama doesn't want me around. Excuses. They're all
Yeah.
excuses. My dad worked 2 and 3 jobs and still had time for us. He still had time to coach Little League baseball.
I think if you ever want a good laugh, come to my house around homework time as I'm showing my daughter something that it always ends up with them explaining to me how it's done at the end. And it just, I want to be there for them. It's just, that education thing is a very hard thing.
It's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough, and there's parents today, man, that have a hard time teaching their children mathematics.
Oh.